Hi everyone, and welcome to our ABA series. My name is Eleonora Magri, board certified behavior analyst, and today we're going to talk about the function of behavior and specifically the function of escape. I'm always going to talk about this, how important are the ABC of behavior, that antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Specifically, what gives us a good clue of the function of behavior is that antecedent, what happens before the behavior that triggers it. And why finding out why the behavior occurred, why is this function is important, is because to each function, there is a specific effective intervention that applied behavior analysis provide us with. And there are 4 functions of behavior. The first one, escape, which we're going to be talking about in detail today. Then there is attention, access to a tangible, and the self-stimulatory or automatic behavior. So in the function of escape, the individual, why does he engage in that behavior? Because he wants to avoid doing something that he or she does not want to do. And in the past, engaging in this behavior has resulted in avoiding the task, some relief from it. So let's say avoiding cleaning the dishes, avoiding playing with the ball. And the antecedent for an escape behavior is typically an instruction to do something or a stimuli in the environment, maybe materials, maybe people, maybe just the environment itself that signals that a demand is about to happen or something unwanted. Typically, we engage in an escape behavior for 3 reasons. Either because we lack the motivation, simply we don't want to do it. For lack of the skill, maybe it's too difficult, and specifically for individual with developmental disability, right? Maybe there are some fine motor skills that it's just difficult to orchestrate all that. And the third one, there might be a sensory aversiveness. And so maybe there's a sensitiveness or a noise that is too loud. So remember, behavior can be appropriate or problematic. And so if my antecedent is an instruction to do math homework, I could engage in an appropriate behavior to escape that task. And I could just simply say, I don't want to do math right now. Or I can engage in a problematic behavior to escape it, which could be throwing toys on the floor and screaming. Let's look at some examples. First example, my antecedent is the alarm clock sounding. My behavior is hitting the alarm clock, and as a consequence, the alarm clock turns off. So that antecedent, that aversive stimuli is what signal, right, that the function of the behavior is for escape. Second example, the parent says, clean up the blocks. The behavior is child screaming no and refusing to clean up the blocks. And the consequence, what happens after the behavior, is the parent clean up the block. So again, the antecedent is an instruction and the behavior function is avoiding to clean up those blocks. The third example is the parent asking the child to put on shoes. The behavior is the child saying, I don't want to, and the consequence, the child does not have to put shoes on. You see how we have an example of a problematic behavior and just an appropriate one. Let's practice some more with a specific scenario. In here, we're gonna, again, identify our ABC and identify the function. So it's time for bed and mom asks Johnny to brush his teeth. She gives him the toothbrush. Johnny throws the toothbrush on the floor and runs to his room. Mom screams, Johnny, come over here. Mom is exhausted, and after screaming for 5 minutes, she goes to Johnny's room, kisses him goodnight. And next time when Johnny is asked to brush teeth, he refuses to brush them. What is our behavior? That observable action is that Johnny throws the toothbrush and runs to his room. What is the antecedent? Before the behavior happens, there is that request to brush teeth. And what happens after? That consequence is that mom screams for 5 minutes, kisses him goodnight, and Johnny does not have to brush his teeth. And so what is the function of the behavior? Well, if we look at the antecedent, there is an instruction, and in the consequence, he doesn't have to brush teeth. And so the function is escape. And now what? Now that we find out the function, what are we going to do? Well, now that we know that the function is escape, Applied behavior analysis gives us specific intervention for the function of escape that we can use to address problematic behavior. And how are we going to do that? Well, we can modify something that happens before the behavior, so the antecedent, and we can modify something that happens after the behavior as that consequence. And so let's dive in just with that example of the brushing teeth. What are some antecedent strategies that we can use? What are some modifications that we can do to the environment before the behavior occurs? Well, we could ensure that there is a reinforcer available to motivate Johnny to brush his teeth. We can remind Johnny that, hey, remember, in 5 minutes, we're going to be brushing teeth, and we're going to set a clear expectation. We can also use visuals, a schedule, a picture to, again, remind them that this is the night routine. We're going to eventually brush our teeth. We can use a first-then contingency where we're going to say, first we're going to brush teeth, and then you're going to get access to the toy that you want, or maybe iPad for 10 minutes. We could engage in some choices versus, for example, we could say, you could brush teeth, or I could brush teeth for you. You see how the end result is still Johnny brushing teeth. We're just providing him the choice and given an illusion of control that the child is actually able to choose in which manner he's going to brush teeth. We can also use what is called behavioral momentum. And so as maybe Johnny's in the living room and we need to get him to the bathroom, we can engage in some fun little activity game. Hey, Johnny, high five, and let's go. Let's race to the bathroom together. And as we are approaching that hard or that aversive task, making it a little bit more fun with some easy task, more chances are that Johnny's actually going to engage in the brushing teeth. And then another strategy that it's very powerful and important is we need to teach Johnny how to request a break from this aversive task eventually, right? And reinforce it. Although brushing teeth, he might need to learn to tolerate it. We want to ensure that he's able to ask us for a break, or maybe, hey, stop brushing, because again, maybe my left part of the teeth is a little bit more sensitive. So that he does not engage in the problematic behavior, but he could actually tell us stop. And remember, this replacement behavior needs to have the same function as the problematic behavior. Now, let's look at consequence strategies. What items and stimuli can I modify in the environment after the behavior occurs? We're going into a little bit more of a technical term, but it's called escape extinction. And really all it means is that we're just going to have to follow through with that demand. And in the case of Johnny, we're going to have to find a way of following through with brushing the teeth, even if it's just hand over hand, Johnny maybe holding the toothbrush and maybe just placing it near his mouth. That would be a step closer to eventually teaching Johnny that by throwing the toothbrush and screaming and all that, he's not going to get escape from the task. He either can ask us with his words that he's not ready, that he doesn't want to do it, or comply. And he's going to get a reinforcer for doing that in the appropriate behavior. And then a couple of other strategies would be redirection. So again, we're going to redirect Johnny back to that toothbrush, that demand that we ask. And it could also be a task reduction. If the ideal instruction and ideal goal is that Johnny brushes teeth independently, we need to accept baby steps towards that goal. And so just like I was saying before, just maybe him tolerating holding the toothbrush and placing it on top of his lip would be good enough for today as a follow-through. And so now that we have covered a lot of information, now we know how to break down into our ABC, the antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Now we've also learned how to recognize the function of escape by looking at that antecedent. And so here is a little exercise for you. Identify whatever behavior that it's problematic that you want to decrease, and collect the data for 3 to 5 instances. If you are, a mom or a dad just starting doing this, those are going to be the amount of opportunities that is going to be enough for you. Typically, when we really analyze behavior to get a real good sense of the pattern and the function, we need at least 15 instances. So I welcome you to give it a try and see if the function of that inappropriate behavior is for escape. Thank you so much for watching us.